Hello, nice to see you all. I'm Riina and I'm working as a senior software developer at Fortumo. I have worked as a developer already more than 12 years. And today I'll try to talk a bit about how I became a developer and what I like about this job. What are my challenges, what keeps me going. My way to programming was not straightforward at all. As to computers, I started out as a CAD drawer. But soon enough, I found myself developing small add-ons to my daily tools. And I think that was a very important point in my career because ones who have done programming, they know programming is a very hands-on job. And I would suggest actually anyone before entering university or trying to get a job like a developer to try it out. And you don't, well, IT is all around us. You can do it basically at every office job, I would say. And I had a good opportunity. I realized I like programming, and then I decided to study it at the university also. And soon after that, I also joined Nortal, then it was called Web Media, as true junior developer, of course. Now, when I think back to that time, nowadays I hear lots of developers saying that university didn't really contribute anything to them becoming a developer. Yes, maybe it was nice, but at my work, I don't need those things. And I must say that at some point I was thinking the same thing. I don't know. And I don't know why, but I think about it in the terms of painting. In the university, they teach you basic things about colors. Then you mix blue and yellow, you get green every time, and you don't mix watercolors with oil colors. Very basic principles. And after that, they let you paint a stickman, like a child does. Head and hands and legs, and that's it. What is missing from there is they don't show you how to do Mona-Lisas. And when you enter the industry, there is the opposite. You get a huge project ready-made, and you start to polish one of its corners. And you really don't have to worry about choosing your colors or to what technique to use, because all those choices have been done for you. So, to me, university knowledge and industry knowledge now both seem very useful, but they start kind of from the opposite ends of programming, and it takes time to make these ends actually meet for yourself. Because when you enter industry, you get hit by tons of frameworks, best practices, industry standards. You have to learn lots of tools, debuggers and IDs and whatever. And that is also very, very necessary to become a real developer, because as I said, developing is hands-on and you have to master your tools. It's not enough to know the syntax of Java or any language. You have to do it quickly, you have to do it almost without thinking to be efficient, to really produce code. And I think that's the first years what you do when you enter industry. You just learn to master your tools. And as a junior, you never get the tasks which are really complicated or where you have to think about complicated algorithms or things like that. But after that, about this first period, it is a nice period. I enjoyed it pretty much because you become very efficient. You fulfill your tasks very quickly. You write lots of business logic and you kind of like what you do. You think now you know it. But after some years, you get more complicated tasks. You become more senior, and suddenly you start to get tasks which are not actually business logic, which have to do with engines beneath it, the bugs and frameworks. All that will become your business. And I would say that for me, it was actually the time when the real fun began, because then you can be really creative. You see the large picture, you see how you can fit pieces together. To me, programming is very, very creative. Because although you have those rules from university, these rules are like little pieces, and every time you have to fit them together. The larger the systems, the more pieces, and they all have to work together. So I think that's what I like the most about my job now. That includes also problematic things like performance issues and race conditions, parallel algorithms, things like that. I really enjoy that kind of things. So yes, now from a little bit different perspective, what I want my code to be, I want my code to make difference. And that's a little bit different angle, because to make difference, that means to me my code works well and it has purpose. It is useful for people. In addition to the fact that it works well, it must be useful. So first of all, yes, I have to choose projects or companies which I think are really worth it, which do the correct things. But I, as developer, I can contribute there with communication. I think that is actually something that programmers are not often good at, but they should be better. Here in Fortumo, we discuss really much, because we don't have actual testers and we don't have analysts. This means that developers always have to understand the business very well. But even if you have testers and other analysts, my experience is that they really appreciate when you go to them, like say, hey, here, you gave me a task, but it seems kind of stupid. Couldn't we change it a bit? We could do it like a week quicker. And quite often it happens, because business people, they don't realize and they don't have to know all the technical details. You can help a lot just by communicating, by saying, proposing ideas. And that's what I'm trying to do daily. And actually I enjoy that part very much, also being part of the analysis process and testing. Of course, we don't have testers because all our tests are automated tests. I guess every company should be doing that, but as I know, they are not so. Yes. And last but not least, teams. I really, really like IT teams. I don't know if I have been lucky, but I can't remember any bad team. I have really worked with very good teams, and that is an important thing in IT. And what I mean by good team is not just a bunch of people who hang together and get along well. I mean professionals. I mean motivated people who are ready to work hard, want to make things happen, to make things work. And what team can also give you, well, first thing, team is the quickest way to learn, actually, especially when you enter a large project. The team members know exactly what pieces of this project you need to speed up. They give you exactly the knowledge you need. Otherwise, you could probably just Google and find it. But if you have people in team who know it, it's like tremendous difference in speed. And all the team members don't have to know everything. Everyone knows some parts better, some parts worse, and you share knowledge, and that helps a lot. Here at Fortumo, we try to pair programming, to discuss between engineers while we develop every day. This is not like some special occasion. We do knowledge sharing a lot. That includes lots of arguing also. But I think that the results are better if we argue and we discuss things. Yes, and also teams take off pressure. Because when you have many people who share the same knowledge, there's not so hard pressure on one person. Because at least I have had experiences lots of times when program is the last resource. Everything else is lost, like you have to deliver something by the midnight. Then you go to program and say, you fix it now, and you do it now. And if you are the only person who can do it, it can become lots of pressure. But if you have a team, you can share this pressure, and it's manageable in reasonable ways. And I think with that, I shall conclude my talk. Find a good team, learn programming.
We already have some questions coming from the Slido. So I will leave some of the questions for the last 10 minutes. But there is one question that is quite interesting. That what has been your most embarrassing mistake you have made during your career as a programmer?
Lots of those. Well, one thing I remember, I had to implement the transaction handling. It was quite complicated system with database transaction handling on the application level. You know the basic thing, you do something in transaction. When it succeeds, you commit. When it fails, you roll back. And I had to do some changes in some existing framework. And it was complicated to find out and to make it work. And well, we got it ready, we delivered it, and we found out like half a year later that the rollback was not there. Just the rollback.
So another question that with a high demand of developers on the market, what has kept you in Fortumo? You're one of the oldest developer, or the one that you have been paying here?
No, I'm not the one who has been the longest in Fortumo, but several things. We are doing important stuff, as I said, from the business side of view. This project seems important to me, the products we produce. We use very like new and exciting technologies. We do microservices. We always try out new things. We challenge status quo.
Excellent. So please keep posting your questions, and then we will come back to the questions on the end.
Thank you, Riina. So now Mari-Liis can tell all about how this journey actually begins and the mistakes you make in the beginning and the stuff you learn over the time. Mari-Liis, please.
Hello, as you know, I'm Mari-Liis. I was a software engineer intern in Fortumo last fall, and I'm gonna tell you a small journey I went through in my life that brought me here. I've always loved computers. At the age of 7, when I got my first computer, I constantly searched for new free games to play, and I googled everything that piqued my interest. I constantly told people that I'm going to do something related to computers in the future. And that's why in my middle school graduation I was titled as most likely to end up in computer science field title. But I didn't think about it in high school. High school I was thinking like, am I going to be a hairdresser like my mom, or something related to math, maybe a teacher? I wasn't thinking about computer science. But I was interested in programming. We had a programming course which was unfortunately disbanded when I got to the right grade to take it. So I didn't quite get the start I wanted. But everything changed when we had to choose someone to be a work shadow of. I didn't know who to pick. I asked my friends, maybe their parents could be my work shadow. I didn't really know who I was going to pick. But then I noticed a contest online that had a few famous people, very successful people on the list, and you had to choose one and write a motivational letter to win the contest, to get the work, to be a work shadow of someone. And from that list, I chose Andrei Gorobeinik, and he was the creator of Ratte.ee, of really. It was a famous social media website, and I won somehow. And I was, of course, dumbfounded, but I was happy. He was working at the Parliament. Was the Parliament instead of English? I don't know. He was working there, so I went there. And everyone else that participated in the contest, they had like suits, some dresses, looked really fancy, but I was just there, a girl with jeans and a t-shirt and a hair that she forgot to comb. But then Andrei Gorobeinik walked in, and he was practically the same, just jeans and a sweater. I was like, okay, this is going well. And of course, I participated in his meetings. He had meetings with new startup owners that wanted advice on how to proceed and what choices to make in a startup. And he gave them really good advice. And I listened, and I was dumbfounded. Everything that he said sounded so interesting and so fascinating. He also apologized that if I don't understand anything, but I was like, no, everything's fine. It's interesting. And of course, they really liked my enthusiasm, so they even offered me an internship spot. But I was like, no. It's interesting, but I have no experience in IT. But after that day, I had my goal. My goal was to study IT in University of Tartu. I had no prior experience to programming, except maybe a couple of courses on codeacademy.com. But university wasn't quite what I expected. A lot of math, physics, economy, but not enough programming that I expected. I expected that all our courses will be related to programming, but no, it was quite a disappointment. And if you compare the first year and the second year, in the first year they're like, here, have this recipe, create bread. And the second year is like, you won't get a recipe, but make this baked Alaska cake. It was like really different, and you didn't know where to start. You just lived in Stack Overflow and Googled everything because you had no idea how to start, because you had no real base. And at some point in my second year, I started to feel down because a lot of my friends were dropping out. They felt like it's not for them, and I started. If you hear this stuff from people, your friends, you start to think maybe I'm the same. Maybe I don't really belong in IT. Maybe it's not for me. And before giving up completely, I wrote to Andrei and asked him, do you know any IT firms in Tartu that accept interns? I had already missed the other deadlines, but I wasn't gonna give up. I was gonna write to IT firms and ask them for help. And Andrei replied. He gave me a list of IT firms in Tartu who I wrote to. Only 2 replied. One said, sorry, no, our contest is over, but you can try next year. And Fortumo wrote, hello, we're gonna have a contest in a few weeks. It's for fall. You can check your university's database in 2 weeks. And I waited. And there it was, the contest. And I wrote to them, wrote my motivation letters and my CV, and they gave me the task. The task was, I learned a lot with the new task. I had to Google a lot of stuff, but I was so proud of myself for putting a lot of effort into a small thing, like a test task. And I finished my task, and then I slept over, and then I woke up, and and I polished it because I wanted to send some quality stuff because I really wanted this internship. And I sent my task. I was asked for an interview, and the interview went well, I think. They really liked that I read clean code. And a few weeks later, after all the other candidates did their interview, I was told that I was one of the... here's a funny story. In end of July, before they announced the contestants that won, I actually had a dream that I got a mail that I was accepted. But then, yeah, a few days later from that, I got a letter that I was accepted. I actually screamed, and my then boyfriend told me to shut up. And I was really, really, really happy and dumbfounded, like, how did an idiot like me win? And of course it started. I was quite nervous because I was still insecure with my Java writing skills and my communicating skills. I'm a very shy person. It doesn't look like that right now, but I'm really shy. And I was so dumbfounded because the work ethic of Fortumo completely changed actually the person I am right now. Everyone was so supportive, so positive. That even if people made mistakes, nobody yelled at them, "You're an idiot, why did you do that?" But they're like, "Okay, let's sit down, let's fix your mistake," and people learn from their mistakes. And that's what I did too. I did make mistakes, but at first I didn't want to ask any questions because I didn't want to sound stupid. I wanted to sound like I know what I'm doing. But at some point I learned that it's okay to ask questions. Because if you ask questions, you learn, and if you don't ask questions, you're going to be an idiot for a couple of days. And they gave me a lot of materials to learn from, and at some point I started to feel really confident in my Java skills, and finally learned how to create quality code and to cover my code with tests, which of course improved my coding skills a lot. And I got to do a bit Ruby, and I'm not much, but I was so happy to have the opportunity to learn some other language as well. And my experience in Fortumo, I took it with me to school. I give myself a drive and motivation to do my school tasks. I try to motivate my team to work hard because everyone on Fortumo was working hard, and so I try to motivate my team and make them work hard. And I showed them if I worked hard as well, and I hope that kind of passed it on to them. Unfortunately, it kind of didn't, but I was proud of myself for putting extra effort into my schoolwork because of that I learned much more than I was actually supposed to. And on my last day at Fortumo, it was kind of like bittersweet experience. I didn't want to go, but at the same time I was happy to have that opportunity because 3 months at Fortumo actually made me progress more than 3 years in computer science. I don't want to go to... I should finish my bachelor's, of course, but I'm so sick and tired of school because school is really disappointing because it doesn't really teach you what IT is, how IT teams work, and that's why in university you feel really disappointed because it feels like it's not for you. But if you actually work in an IT environment, your perspective changes completely. What you learn in high school isn't really quite that stuff what IT firms do. So that's why I feel like I'm really confident as a software engineer, developer, anything. I could be a developer in any language. Just give me a language, I'll learn, and then I'll work. Because I'm really confident that I can come through if I really want to and have drive and motivation to do it. And that's my story. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Excellent. It's really cool to see how young people coming from university are developing themselves and their career. We have lots of questions that have been highly rated, but I think these questions we will leave it from the end, because it would be interesting to ask all the questions from different speakers. I have a question that you said that the school didn't teach you so much. So from there you should pick up your knowledge then. Like, are you using some kind of YouTube courses or some other?
Yes. Basically, I just read books, read some documentations, and did how to say, mistakes and made katse-eksitus.
Okay, the testing, testing.
Just tested everything you learned, the new stuff, and it will at some point go into your brain basically. But you do learn some stuff at school, but it wasn't quite as fun. What I did at Fortumo was actually fun.
Okay. So I'm not sure how many you will have the opportunity to work for some IT firm or company. So if you, for example, say that you don't have this kind of internship opportunity, then where would you start then? How would you develop your skills?
If I don't have the...
Yeah, for example. Would you do this kind of small day tasks or how would be your vision to sort of to grow and experience?
In my free time, I visited 2 websites that I don't remember. One was Hacker Earth, I think, and they had tasks. They give you a task and you're supposed to write a code, and if it gives the correct input, then you did it correctly and you get points for that. And that's how I actually grew my logic skills when I learned how to write Java and Python and some C#. It was really hard.
Okay, so there was a question. Did you self-study on Java? Or you got the base from the school?
I got the base from the school, yes, but I actually got my real base. Before uni, I learned from Code Academy some Java, some base for that, and then I improved it by reading Clean Code. And I got a really good book from Fortumo when my internship ended. I'm reading that, but I don't remember the name.
So just give it. There was the Code Academy.
Yes.
Then there was another thing.
Clean Code.
Clean Code.
Yes.
And then the book that she will look it up and will send you all the information via email. So I guess we could make a.
Guests so far have said that university wasn't so good experience, but for me it was really great. I came to start computer science. I didn't know what I wanted to do. My older brother already studied it, so I thought, why not? And I teach some coding in Code Academy, but I think it's not really programming, since they tell step by step what you have to do, and you can actually see beforehand solution. So I was the one who was speaking always the solution. And in the university, I think it's also important to have a great team, like in the working environment. If you have a great team, then you like university. And I think we had a group of 10 people maybe, which all together we studied, and I think in one day we learned physics, I think 12 hours straight. So yeah, and after the university, in the university they tell you that it's really easy to get a job. Everyone wants a developer. So I thought oh yeah, I'm gonna get jobs so fast. In spring, on my 3rd year, I thought okay, I found my dream job. I'm gonna do like all the candidate processing and all this stuff. So I got to the last interview. You know, they had like 5 interviews altogether for developer. That was kind of weird, but I got to the last one, well, almost to the last one. Before the last one, they said to me that, you know, we found someone else to the position. And it was very disappointing since before that, the team lead told me that they are really waiting for me and they really want me to get the job. So there was the summer. Of course, when I candidated to my first job, I didn't think that I need to like go for the multiple positions or multiple companies. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get in anyway. So then it was summer, and also my bachelor thesis was in idle, since it was more difficult than I expected. And so I thought like, okay, I'm gonna get some job offers and, you know, send my CVs out, and I will get job in autumn. So I did my bachelor thesis, like I think 1 task a day or something, like I think 5 lines of code, and then I sent out my CVs, and most companies told me that no, we are not looking anyone anymore for the junior positions. So I thought, okay, it's autumn, but now I will probably get the job in winter. But I was quite sad and disappointed, and it was really difficult time for me. And I started thinking like, should I do it? Do I still want to program? And that's the time when I got really sure of myself that yes, I really want to program. So I went on. I lived with my parents, and they were really like understanding about this, that it takes time. So I think, in February, I remembered that I have a friend who works in IT company which isn't very popular. So I wrote him like, do you need someone? I can do like anything. I can program. I can even document or do testing, whatever you have. I just want to do something. So I went to the interview, and they weren't expecting much because I was selling myself so low, since my self-esteem wasn't so great. So, and I did my test job, and they said it went unexpectedly great. So I got my first job. And it's quite small company. It's around 20 years old, and they're making point of sale systems. Who doesn't know, they are the systems you have in the cashiers and in the shops. So I started my work there, and my first week was so horrible. I went home after work, and I literally cried. So, but I really needed the job. So I kept going, and I think around after first month, I felt actually self-confident when I went to work. And it was really good first job, but I had this other company in mind already, called Mooncascade. And I started getting for the position. I wanted to just get into the company in the end of summer, last summer then. So 1 year later, I saw that they are looking for senior developers. So I thought like, I'm just gonna write to need any junior developers right now. And luckily they did. So in 2nd of January, I started my job there. But after I quit my first job, I felt somehow so confident. I don't know where it came from, but I was just so confident in my skill, and it just felt great. So when I got to the first day of my new job, and no one was there to welcome me since it was the 2nd of January, so people were still resting. So I think I sat like 2 hours on the couch. I just went there, took out my computer and started programming. So I was there like 2 hours, and then someone came like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we're having holidays, I'm so sorry." And so they introduced me to the job, and now I've been there like, I think 3 weeks, right? And it's been amazing, and I have my first bigger project, and it feels so great. And now I'm gonna take my notes out. Oh, I wanted to tell you about how I feel like the difference between work and university. Like in the university, you feel always the pressure. In the weekends, in the night, like all the time, you feel the pressure. You have to do your homework, like all the time. But in work, it's like you go to the work, you do your work there, and if you're finished, like maybe the day is finished or you finished your task or something, you go home. And then you like shut down the work part. So it's kind of like more relaxing. Like you get to the 8 hours a day you're working and then you can rest. But in your university you have to always work and to be in the work mode. So I think half of my bachelor thesis was made like this. It was programming task. And I think in the night when I slept, I programmed, and then I woke up like 4 a.m. I was like, okay, I have to get this done now, otherwise I will forget it. And that's how I did my bachelor thesis. Okay. Oh, also, if you're working at a sitting job, like you have to sit all day, it's really good to do some kind of exercises. For example, in Mooncascade, we have this like 2 times a day we plank together, and we have kind of a competition maybe sometimes, who planks longer. And also in free time I do like yoga or running, and I know most people go to the gym. So it's really good to have some kind of exercise because you will feel really old really fast. So it's recommended. Yeah. Also, you should have goals as a developer, because if your only goal is to work, then it gets boring. I think that's why I left my first job, because only thing I did there was work. But in the Mooncascade, my friend worked there, and she always told me like how she's learning clean code and all this cool stuff, and I couldn't implement this at my workplace. So that's, I think, the most important reason. And also, there was also like before the question about the biggest screw-ups or mistakes, and for me, it was deleting the whole code base. We had to do it really fast. Like it was like, okay, we had 10 minutes to change this part of the code, but we couldn't get there directly. So we had to go to the database, and I had to do the update sentence, and I forgot the where part. So I updated all the code. But luckily I had senior developer next to me, and I said to him, you know what I did just now? Can you fix it? And he fixed it in 5 minutes. So if you break something, you should tell someone. Okay, I think that's all from me.
Yeah, excellent. We already have some question for you. I think you made also the fall internship, yeah?
No.
No, not
No.
really. Okay. So I don't know who had this one, probably for the other lady, but okay. There was a question about your previous company, and they wanted to know the name of the company that you were working. I don't know if you should say this, but they want to.
No, I didn't want to mention it because I think I might have told about them maybe a little more negatively, since I wanted to point out why I left, not why I would have liked to stay. So it was called Astro Baltics, and it's really good company actually. Just it wasn't perfect for me, and yeah, they're really great people. Although it was unexpected that the average age of the person was really high. I mean, like, you actually saw people who were actually like should have retired already. and actually, one of them was half programmer, so it was really great experience actually. And they called her grandma. So.
To Ingrid, what makes Mooncascade so good?
I think it's that I want to learn clean code. So it's like perfect for me because they really help you with that. But also we have this like really laid back office, and you can go play Xbox or eat sandwich. We usually have sandwich material around in the kitchen, and you can just go talk with someone, but you have to do your work too. But it's like your responsibility.
Do they make also the parallel coding? I don't know if they call like this or like
programming.
Yeah, parallel programming. Yeah, I think we do. But in my first days, actually today even, I had this senior developer sitting next to me and teaching me how to code. So basically, it was parallel programming, but it was just me like sitting there like, wow, you can do that. Yeah.
Excellent. So if you have some other questions, please write there. I guess we'll finish with Ingrid, and we have another very sparkling lady to give the final story, and then we will have this panel that you could really ask the question. So just please feel free to use the things. Yeah.
Thank you. So now Alexandra from our account management at Fortumo. Yes.
Hi everyone. I have a question to start first because this is the first time that I am attending the TechSisters event. But is everybody here working as engineers or studying engineering, or is there some of you that are not directly working in engineering but something related, like what I do, for example, like a sales but in the IT sector?
Raise your hand.
Yeah, maybe you can raise your hand. So. Okay, great. There are a couple of you. So what I will say may actually be useful to someone, which is great. So my name is Alexandra Issany. I am French. I am 31 years old, and I have now been working in the IT sector for 8 or 9 years. I didn't study IT at all, or nothing that was related to IT. I have done a business school, study international business and logistics, so really nothing to do with IT in 5 years. And when I finished school at the time, I was super motivated because they also tell you that when you study business, you're going to have such a great job, and you will work like at the international level and travel everywhere, and collect points on your Amex card. And this is not what happened to me, unfortunately. And I did several internships during my studies that were more related to the food sector, so really nothing to do. And I worked for some companies like PepsiCo or for Bacardi, Martini, so still nice names. But the job was not really exciting, to be honest. And when I finished the studies and started to look for a job, there was always this issue that the market in France was overcrowded with talents that were also searching for a job, some who had more experience than I had, and always I was offered positions in the food sector. So at some point, I had a very, very lucky call with one of my friends who started to work as a recruiter somewhere. And yes, I called her to ask how she was, and she said that yes, I started to work as a recruiter in this company, and I started to ask, okay, what do they do? And then she said, I don't think I can explain that to you because I have not a really good idea myself. So I said, all right. And as a joke, I told her, are they searching for some salespeople, maybe? I don't know, I'm not desperate, but almost. So in the end, she said, well, at the moment we were hiring for some position, but now the applications are closed. But we actually had troubles to find some people, so we still have one spot available. Maybe I can check with my manager if you can go through the application process. So I did, and it actually went pretty well. And this company is called EMC. I don't know if maybe some of the engineers know about it because they're hardware, software manufacturers, and they also have some security and other types of products that they make and sell. It's an American company. I had no idea of who they were before starting to work for them. And the other interesting thing is that when I got the job, they told me, yes, you are going to work for us, but you just need to move to Ireland within the upcoming 2 or 3 weeks. So I did, and it was actually one of the best decisions I made for several reasons. So first of all, I got there to become a sales representative in IT. And I was feeling so lucky that I managed to change from the food sector because, according to me, IT is a very, very interesting and constantly changing environment. So you can never get bored. And this is one of the reasons why I would find it very, very difficult to change because when you sell something, if it's something that is really fixed, that the usage is not going to change over time for people, then you are just never going to learn anything. Just make some pricing and sell it to the same people all the time. So this is one part that I like. And the other thing is that with this company specifically, I actually, before starting working for them, during 5 months, they did provide me a full training from the basics of IT, how a computer is working, to how to map an IT infrastructure when talking with an IT director, to be able to locate, like the storage, the servers, explain, understand what applications they are using and how everything is connected. So I could know how to sell to them, understand the pain points even myself without having no IT background at all. So during 5 months I've done this, and I also got all of the training to get to understand what the IT directors are saying, because it's not always very easy because there are for some of them a little bit technical and they are using fancy words. But I made it and I started to work in this environment. And what was really cool is that it felt to me like being a little girl in a skate park with some cool guys. Because the engineers or technical people, they tend to do that. They start to show off about what they know. They use fancy words and like things that you cannot always understand. And they also are really passionate about what they do for some of them. So they are going to start telling you a lot of things, and it was kind of a challenge for me, but I was always like, yes, I can do it. So what was really cool is that you always, how can I say that? First of all, in this experience, I always had people who would help me understanding things. I had the chance to work for EMC, then I actually worked for Oracle, also in software. I was selling business intelligence solutions. I don't know if it talks to some of you. It's more some reporting solutions. But it was really great because these companies offered me already like in-house a lot of knowledge, but also as Riina mentioned it earlier and Mari-Liis as well, people are usually really, really happy to help you. And I think that one thing that is important when you are a person or woman working in IT and doesn't have an IT background is that usually engineers are really, really happy when you go to them and you are curious about what they do, that you try to understand things, that when there are problems or like issues, that you would actually try to have like a first level of troubleshooting yourself. And then go to them only if it's necessary, or even try to understand what is the source of the problem, and to grow, to learn, to educate yourself. And I think this is one of the most important things to do, is to keep on educating yourself all along, because the sector, the products are evolving so fast that if you don't do that in a couple of years, you can be lost. Then this is this was a little bit less related. After leaving Oracle, I also worked for LinkedIn for a couple of years. Again, this was a sector that I didn't know. It was web marketing, and again, I had to educate myself, not about very technical things, but things that were related to web and marketing, which I didn't know about either, because this is something quite recent. At the time at school, it didn't even exist. And indeed, if you want to stay up to date, again, it's quite. We're running out of electricity. It's really important, and if you want to grow and to basically make the most of the opportunity that you have as a professional, go the extra mile, as we say at Fortumo. If you educate yourself, you will go much further than some colleagues who don't. And you can create yourself some cross opportunities, even in other companies. So take the opportunity to educate yourself. It's really important. And after some personal experiences, I met a great Estonian man, and we had a chat together. We actually decided to come to Estonia, and I was actually searching for a company where I could have the same kind of experience that I had at LinkedIn, at least as a work environment, because I'm a very outgoing person. I love socializing with people. And I was really, really scared about how it was going to be in Estonia, because I know that people usually don't talk a lot, and I have my amount of words that I need to use during the day, and I was a little bit anxious about it. But one night, I actually went to Naive for some drinks with some friends. And I met the Fortumo team completely randomly. They were actually trying to steal our table. And this is how it basically started. That was a great night, I must say. So yes, well, on top of the personal skills, interpersonal skills, because I really liked the atmosphere, and I was really thinking, if these would be my colleagues, I think the experience could be super fun. Then I learned to know the company, the products, and what the company is trying to achieve, which I found super interesting. And I would say that I feel very lucky that I actually found Fortumo, because I can still do my job as an account manager. I am working with clients, and these are stuff that I really, really enjoy. I don't think I could be in a fully technical job myself. But here you still have to educate yourself to understand how the product works, because then you can support your merchants better. You can propose them solutions that are going to help their business grow. And indeed, if you don't have this understanding about the technique, how the products are working, what are the potential blockers, what are the challenges that even engineering can help us overcome, then you cannot find opportunities for your merchants and grow a Fortumo business. And this is also what I really like here, is that what we do is quite complex. as an account manager, I still need to educate myself, and the team is really great, and each time I have tried to know more about things or went to see the engineering team because I wanted to have some issues solved. First of all, I try always, I hope I manage, but to show that I tried at least to understand what the problem is and maybe to discuss some potential solutions, that when they are talking back to me, that it's not as if they were speaking Chinese to me, and that then we can manage to speed up the solution process and the problem solving process. And I must say that I really, really enjoy working here. So that's it for me.
I already started to like the questions more, so thanks for this. Does sales job pay as well as technical job? So they basically ask if Fortumo is paying enough.
Well, we don't. I don't know how much my colleagues are paid. I don't know about Estonian standards in general, but what I can say is that in countries like Ireland, for example, you can earn your life really, really, really good. If I can give some figures, for example, when I first started in EMC at the time, just with a entry-level job, so a job that you can join after university, I was already earning 50k, for example. And it was not something that was related to me, it's the standards on the market. If you are, I don't know, you want to become you're becoming a senior sales, for example, and you're going to Dublin, you can have salaries that are really skyrocketing, at least compared to Estonia, probably. And they pay probably just as well, or sometimes even better, in some of the companies I worked before than engineering jobs, because you have commissions and they can be really high. They can sometimes double your salary.
Could you just give a couple of main differences working for the big corporate as a LinkedIn or Oracle and the small company as like Fortumo here or some other Estonian companies? Like, I know many people who say that, I know many Google guys who have been left Google and said that they don't want to be just a small part of Google, they want to be themselves creative, do the great things. Mm-hmm. But I also know that many people are enjoying really big corporate structure, yes, so big difference.
I think it's slightly different when you are working as a salesperson, because what I really, really enjoyed when I worked in these big corporations is that in the end the challenge was the same. It's not like in engineering where you have like maybe this big task and as an engineer you will only do this part. When you are working as a sales in an organization, they give you your portfolio of clients, they give you your target, which is usually really, really high, and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to achieve this. But then you are free to do whatever you need to do to achieve it. One of the biggest, I would say, two major differences is that in big corporations you have a lot of resources, which means that if you need like some kind of tool to have some presentations ready, or you need to have some data about stuff, usually everything is already there. They have already like a reporting tool that will enable you to get whatever kind of data you need. And in smaller organizations, usually it's a lot of manual work that you need to do. And each time you want to launch some bigger projects, you really need to prove always the business case of it because the resources are limited, whether it's in terms of amount of people or even in terms of finances. So both are great. But,
so what are your biggest challenges as a foreign worker in Estonia? Do you feel any difference? I mean, you have also here very international, not perhaps very, I could say very international team, but still could you feel some like attitude or some kind of like a difference?
In my work environment myself, here at Fortumo, I would say that there is not much difference. The people that I am working with are really great, they are smart, they are open, You can talk to them very easily. I am not sure if it would be the same thing in other working space, but I think at least in IT, the people usually have this mindset that they are really like laid back, relaxed, and really humble. This is what I like maybe with Estonia, that you don't find everywhere. Humility, because it's really important. Usually people are not coming and saying, oh yes, I'm the best and stuff. When sometimes in France, for example, people can tend to be really arrogant. And also what is really cool is how it's easy to challenge also your manager or the management in general. When you think that something should be done differently, people are pretty free and open to hear your feedback and your comments.
So I guess we could finish here. We will prepare the stage for the panel slide. It takes probably a couple of minutes, so if you would like to grab the drink, you can do it very quickly. Thank you again. First of all, thank you everybody for such sharing your story and answering the questions. So as I said already, I'm going to take the question from our app, but you can also raise your hand and ask. So I hope that we will have very interactive a panel here. So I have one question that have got the most likes. I don't know if you could answer this, but somebody has asked, is there a way to change from other tech job to programmer without going back to the starting salary? So do you think that, is it a possible really sort of similar or parallel job, change to or become a programmer and not really lose your salary? Yeah.
Okay, I think it's about talking inside the company, like your salary expectations, and you probably already know, inside if you have worked inside the company, you probably know the product and you know the people, and it's easier to teach you. So I think mostly you don't have to go to the starting salary, but I think it really depends on companies.
And on the starting salaries.
Yeah.
It really depends what you get before. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, how good you are speaking out your salary.
No, I mean also I think it was last TechSisters event. Afterwards, we started networking with performance, and they actually said we asked what do you lose your some part of your salary if you are a first-time programmer, and then you switch to project manager, or to lose the salary. And actually, the girl said really well that you probably don't, because it's company policy. Do they value programmers, or they shouldn't value one more than other? So the salary probably doesn't depend really on your skills so much.
So another question that is, how much self-study or additional learning do you need to undertake to keep your skills and knowledge up to date?
I would say the best way is to learn something new every day. When I was in Fortumo, I learned something new every day because everyone was giving me materials, and when I was given tasks, I always had to take learn something new to implement it into my code.
Riina?
It's the same for me actually. For me it works like a part of my work. I do lots of learning, but I have to do it pieces in between the real work. It doesn't really work that now I have to study something really new and read a book for a week or so. I try to organize my work the way that, I take an hour, I read something new, and I try to use it somewhere, then I maybe do some more reading. But actually, when I think of the amount of it, there's quite a lot.
So the question is also that I assume that you're learning mostly what is related your tasks at work, or you're also looking some new information more out of the range that you're working every day?
Mostly related to my work. But as I said, we try to use new technologies, so it is also kind of getting information about what is new. But yes, I do special reading about new technologies to be informed, but not so much. Mostly related to
Ingrid?
I also learn most during the work. I try to read some tech news, like I think 10 minutes at least a day. But I'm one of those programmers who doesn't program after the work day because I'm already so tired of programming. So yeah.
I don't need to refresh my skills about programming. But what I do is that usually when I have a new case, a new issue coming up in the context of my job, I try to educate myself. I ask someone to sit with me and show me how the whole process is working, and this is usually how I get my knowledge. We need also to have some kind of knowledge about the industry, about the trends that we do on a regular basis, on a daily basis, because we have in our communication tool in the company a channel where everybody posts all of the news. So we try this way to be up to date about what is happening and what we need to know to do our job better.
As the next questions are a little bit more related to the coding and programming, I have a question, Alexandra, for you. How much time took for you to sort of get all the knowledge that was required for the Fortumo? So when you came, obviously it was business that you wasn't really in. So how much time it required you to learn about the industry and get to know how the things are working?
I am still learning, even though I have been in Fortumo for a year and a half. But they didn't really let me the time to learn everything before starting to do things. So I would say that I still started. It's not impossible when you have everybody that is so helpful to start doing things. But I would say I started to feel really comfortable after 4 or 5 months to really make sure that what I was saying was actually accurate to my clients, or even to have really meaningful conversations with product managers or engineers inside the company.
So now some program-related questions. Which programming language should you start?
I think Python.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's simple, it's easy to learn. Java is more a bit complicated.
Riina?
At work it was Java, but at school I think it was even Turbo Pascal perhaps.
Okay, something I know. Okay, excellent. So I know that Java is quite popular in Estonia, we could say like this. So do you think that it could be the second sort of language that you should study, or there's something else, or it depends from which direction you would like to sort of focus, like a front end or back end?
Well, in school, my first one was Python and my second one was Java, and I think it was pretty accurate. Well, they're very different languages together when you compare them, but it was a slow progression, and I think it was a good choice as well. But I heard a lot from people at Fortumo that your first programming language should be C#, but C# seems really scary to me. But so that's why I think Python is much better as a first language instead of Java. Java could be a good second language.
Okay. So next question. Dream company, please. Let's keep all the companies that you're currently working. The company that you think that it could be very interesting challenge to work for them.
Fortumo.
I said
working there.
Okay, I said that maybe something else. Why?
I don't know really. I'm at this point I have a lot of choices. I'm young I'm just starting my career. I don't know. I'm at the moment. I'm gonna look at all the other companies and then maybe gradually find a company that I find that dream company I want to work with. It's just I want to give every company a chance. I don't really have that dream one yet.
Riina?
Well, also, I'm not planning to leave Fortumo, but when I had really to pick something like on a world level, Amazon, I guess, perhaps would be interesting.
You, Ingrid?
In Estonia, I would like to work in Pipedrive, but in the world, I would like to work in Google because they gave me actually the push to leave my job. Since they wrote me and said like, oh, do you want to work with us? Of course, I didn't get the job because my algorithms aren't so great, and I'm not really that good developer. So it actually gave me the push that maybe I should try harder, and I felt that I was in my comfort zone. So yeah.
Alexandra, you have like lots of this big corporate experience.
Mm-hmm. I think I would prefer if I would have a dream company. I don't know which company it would be exactly that exists, but maybe some company that is selling artificial intelligence products because I find it quite fascinating, and I think it would be really interesting to understand it and sell it.
So another question about your big project, the biggest challenge that you have had, and why it was so special, Ingrid.
I do have one. I had one company, like to my last job, we didn't have really projects, we had companies. So I had one company, and it was kind of difficult since they needed to have like, I think half of the structure to be changed, and I was the main developer. Luckily, I had senior developer next to me who I could ask, but it was still really difficult since all the prices, quantities, stock. You had to think of everything, automatical calculations, and I didn't know the system so well yet, and it was difficult. I think 3 months, and in the end we went to live. So and it went great.
Riina?
It takes a bit to explain it, perhaps. So I have had one project in my life which is much more difficult than the others. It was a document management system, and a big institution in Estonia started to use it, an institution that is critical to functioning of the state. I happened to just to become the senior developer there at the moment, and they decided to go to production. They had collected new updates to this system for a year and a half, and then without warning us during Christmas, they did upgrade, and nothing was working. Nothing. It was performance issues. One system gets 1,000 times the load that it is actually meant for normal thing to happen. But as this was that kind of institution, you could read in newspapers beginning of the next year, the directors of this institution calling to Pihlapuu and stuff like that. And it was not easy to fix, because when you really build for it, it's not easy to fix. It was meant to fail. But actually it did not fail, in the sense that we got the next project to improve the performance. But communication-wise, these things are extremely hard, because everyone is mad at everyone. And there's no one is really taking the responsibility, because programmers and the project managers who made the decisions to start with things like that, they have left long ago. And now you are left with this project. but really, really interesting.
I have one special question for Mari-Liis. How did you said with a couple of words that working here or doing the internship was really a big benefit for your school, but how did you really divide your time between the school and the work? Or it was just a summer?
I had to be here 20 hours a week. I calculated it so that I would be 8 hours on Monday because I had no school at all on Monday, and then other days, Tuesday, Thursday, I was 4 hours every day. That I put my calendar so that I would have time for school. On Fridays I did my homework, so it was really well balanced out. So being part-time intern didn't actually impact my school at all.
Alexandra, the qualities that the person who is having the same position as you, what personality or what qualities he or she should have?
I think you need to be humble, never think that you know everything. This is the most important. Then you also need to have maybe an easy contact and not to be shy to go ask for help. The easy contact and good communication also helps to communicate with clients. You need to be really well organized, but this is not related really to IT, it's more related to clients management more. But yes, if you are working in IT, I would say the biggest thing is to still be open to learn new things and not being shy to go ask for help if you need and try to understand what you're doing and what the company is doing. It's the most important.
Most important qualities for coders or programmers?
Always.
One word.
Okay. Always be teachable.
Will to learn new things.
To learn new things? Okay. Ingrid?
Never to give up, especially after you have done like 2 hours coding and have gone over. And you go to the kitchen, make tea, come back and see you have used wrong variable or forgotten semicolon or something like that. It's very stupid. So never give up.
A special question for Sasha. What are the biggest failures you have had in your IT sales career?
I haven't had any.
I don't know what they're laughing.
No, well, they were not really related to IT itself. I would say that working in IT is not easy when you're a woman. Then it depends on the organizations, but I would say in EMC and Oracle, it was not always so easy because you are surrounded by men. And I think things are improving with time because there is a lot, it's supported by really strong HR policies to make it so that women could also have their space in this sector. And I think at Fortumo they're also trying to do that. And here as a community we're also trying to do that, TechSisters. But what was super difficult for me is that I could clearly see that in some organizations the possibility to evolve in such a way and have bigger responsibilities or go from being an in-house inside sales, like a sedentary position, to a field role position, to be constantly on the road visiting clients in one region, I would have difficulties to do that, and that it was mostly reserved to men. Not only, of course, but that it would be much more difficult. And I think in my and at the time I was also quite young, which is not I was not doing my job less good than others. But I think this is one of the biggest failure in my career that I would say. It was not in terms of projects or anything because I never had a real big failure. But it's more about this, about the career path that maybe could have been better if women could have been more accepted or more common thing in this kind of companies.
So does somebody has some questions? Yeah. Yes. Thanks for interesting talk for everyone at first. And Alexandra shared us her point of view and thoughts about how is to communicate with technical people. But it would be interesting to hear the programmer's view of what's the biggest challenge to talk with analyst, for example, or account manager. What's the technical person's thoughts? Ingrid?
For me, I think it's not really difficult since I teach my mom how to use computer. And I had to tell her somehow what my job is. So for me, it's not that difficult. I'm used to it.
Riina?
Yes, I don't find it particularly difficult, but I think that both of us sides need to come out of the box somehow. Well, when it's like actually analysts, it's really easy. But here in Fortumo, we don't have analysts in that sense. We just have business people, and they need to come towards tech people a bit out of their box, and I have to step out toward them and not to think about like technical solution for a while, but try to understand what they need. And they, on the other side, sometimes have to understand the technical limits. So maybe that's a connection point, which we don't reach always, but in general, it's working quite well. I don't see big difference.
Mari-Liis, any experience?
Somebody else, perhaps. Some other questions?
Well, I can maybe bring an example from today. I was writing a letter back to a candidate who solved a home assignment from Fortumo, and I was supposed to write him feedback, as an HR person. And then I looked at the comments our senior developers made, and I was like, okay. Please write in human language a couple of sentences that I can work with. Thank you. And they did, and it worked out. So sometimes you just have to ask.
Excellent. What are your goals now? Like, do you see making some like a career change or I don't know. It will be most easier for Mari if you share, but
A few days ago, I decided I'm not gonna be a lazy twat anymore. I'm gonna go find a job because I'm really anxious to do something to put a little bit of myself into an IT company and improve. Because right now I'm just not doing anything.
Riina, if I'm correct, you're a senior developer. Yes. So where else you could go?
Well, tech organizations are flat organizations. It doesn't really matter what they call you, senior. I don't know. Well, tech lead could be the next title perhaps, but doesn't say much. It's rather about having challenges in my work. And currently, when I joined Fortumo, I think new things to me are like things outside of programming. I used to work with monoliths, with large programs, and I used to think inside the borders of these programs. But here we use microservices. That means that all the programs are tiny, 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 and there are lots of connections between them. And this offers better solutions for lots of problems. And I really like thinking about this world. And I'm not done with that. I'm just learning it. So that's my next goal.
I already mentioned that that my goal is to write better code, like clean code, and maybe do some code reviews and use more Git and something like that. So since I'm in the beginning, I have so much to learn.
Alexandra?
Well, one funny fact is that at some point in my life I was thinking of learning how to code, and I still would like to discover more about it, but I have family now, so it's a little bit more difficult to dedicate some time to this kind of aspect. But more realistically, on top of doing this, maybe during my free time somehow, I would like to just keep being in the same field. But what is clear is that I would like to keep on working in IT, maybe doing something different, maybe more strategic for companies, but still in IT.
Any questions? Yes.
I have a question for Mari-Liis. Why didn't you continue working at Fortumo after your internship?
They told me that my priority should be finishing my bachelor's degree, and I agreed. Well, they're looking for senior developers right now. I don't have that much experience, but I would gladly return. Yes, and if they said if a position will be open, they will contact me.
Yes, I can confirm. At the moment, we don't have capacity. We had the internship. We were prepared for that. We were not prepared to have a long-time junior. So we are, yes, as you said, looking for more senior people at the moment. But if it should come up, you're still first in line. We get it. Sure.
Yes.
It's now recorded, yes?
Live broadcast.
So someone else?
I don't really have a question to answer her question. Probably I'm not the best person to answer, but I have a little experience of being a coder, and I've just started an internship as an analyst. So the difference which I thought is that once you are a coder, you just know that you have to code this part because you know that you have a single chunk of code that you have to run, and it should run when your management has to see. And you don't know about business, nothing. But when you are an analyst, you look at the coders, they don't know about business, how they are going to code better. So from the analyst perspective, you know business, and you might or might not know much technical things. So to balance both of them out, when you are an analyst, you should have a technology little bit of knowledge so that you understand when the coders tell you that this is not possible or this logic will not be, they are not able to do something. And when you are a coder, you should have a broader perspective of a business person that, okay, will this be good for my company or I'm just doing it for the sake of running it. So those two are the things which you should do to balance out whichever role you are doing.
Thank you. Feel free to share the experience. I have one question, more for Riina and Alexandra because you have more experience. Riina, in how many different companies have you worked in, and what are your thoughts about developers changing companies? Is it like a mission impossible, or it's more about this that we know that to be a good programmer, you normally have some like a special personality. So and the programmers, they are not so. When they got the good job, they are keeping up very long time compared to maybe some other people from other positions. So how are your experience? How many different companies you have been working before, and do you think is it true that code or the programmers are not so, I don't know, maybe not, I wouldn't say not so eager to change the positions very quickly, they are more like stable in one position?
I have only worked in 2 IT companies, Norton, so we changed the name in between, so it still counts for one, and Fortumo. And in Norton I was 10 years perhaps.
Okay, and in Fortumo you have been always also?
More than 2 months, 2, 3, something
Okay.
like that. And depends what you call a quick change of work. Because yes, for programming it takes time to get into the business,
Yeah.
to understand things. So I wouldn't say that 6 months is a period when you actually start to contribute. Of course, you start to code from first week, but for me, it is important to understand the business, the whole system, and that takes a bit. So yes, changing jobs after half a year seems weird. You cannot really contribute. Then again, 10 years in one company is perhaps too much. I didn't realize it when I was inside the system. You think like there are different projects, not that we task really different kind of things. You can move in between projects. But when you come out of it, you see it was still like in quite strict frames, and you still like stick to one focus. So I think it is actually useful to move time after time. It's not better not to stay in one company.
To challenge yourself and sort of
yes, exactly.
move on. Okay. In your position, I guess the moving or changing the job, a little bit the angle of the job is quite common. But if you look your career path, do you think that it's better to stay a little bit longer, or it really depends on company, or how you feel?
I think that it's the best is to stay over 2 years, like to do a minimum of 2 years, because especially when you work in IT, you need to educate yourself a lot to understand what you are selling, and the sales cycles are also very long. So sometimes it can take 1 year to close one deal. Sometimes less, of course, thank God, but a lot of the time it's taking a lot of time. So I would say that 2 years would be some minimum to hold the position. Yes. But indeed, it's quite easy to change because the job is kind of the same everywhere. It's just what you're selling that is changing.
Okay. So, does someone else has some questions? No, yes, because we are going to finish quite soon. I have a couple of questions more. Alexandra, because we have also some foreigners here, I would like to ask how easy is to sort of find a position and job in Estonia if you are not native speaker. As I understood, you got the job from Naive, but maybe most of us are not so lucky. But so how they should start, or where they should look around, or how they should present their skills and knowledge and experience?
I think in Tartu specifically, and if you want to work in IT, there are great places like the TechSisters event that are a good place to start networking. Because in the end, searching for a job is a quite sometimes stressful, quite painful process when you are using the common tools like searching on internet. I was looking on LinkedIn and this kind of tools, but I found that it was so cool that here there are a lot of networking events, open doors. There is a Garage 48, many places where you can just go and meet people, start talking with them, and then yes, I didn't get my interview in Naive, but then when knowing about Fortumo, I came for the open doors, and this is when the actual process started.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, my mistake.
No, it was just to precise.
But for the programmers, how you should start? Some tips, some suggestions. I know Ingrid was very sort of focused and sort of applied several times, no?
Yeah.
So never gave up.
Yeah.
I know that internship could be one good option for this, but something else. Is there any idea? How common is? I assume that in Estonia it's not so common to go to company and offer yourself as a sort of free of charge worker, or say that I can work for you without money if you give me the experience?
The thing is, who wants to work for free if you can get paid?
Yeah, sometimes you don't get paid, or at least if you are not from IT and you want to enter to the IT, could be is it a strange or no to go to the company and say that I would like to work for you if you could share your knowledge and teach me.
Like for free?
Yeah, for example, if somebody is knocking your door and...
But I guess really depends on what the skill set's there and what's the team's capacity to actually take somebody on. But yeah, it's not totally not doable. But usually, what I can suggest is that companies have this, or is that we have this thing called open application, where you can very easily upload your CV. You can say either in keywords or in long sentences, what do you want to do, what can you do very well, and what are your interests. We collect that data, and usually when we start searching to fill a new position, we go through our database. So if there are people there with useful skill sets already looking for a job or have looked at in the past, we will contact them first.
Somebody else? Do you have questions? No, yes. So I guess I would like to say big thank you. It was absolutely pleasure to be here and listen to your stories. And I really hope that everybody enjoyed the time here as I had a pleasure, as I said. Yeah, so thanks for sharing your stories. So I have a small gift for you. Yeah, so you have a small TechSisters bag, so very good. So thank you.
And actually, we have something for you too. Thank you for bringing us TechSisters.
Oh. So I got the second one. Yay. So we have half hour to grab some pizza, some drinks, and make some networking. So I really hope that you enjoyed the night. The next TechSister event will be hopefully at the end of February, as the details are not yet agreed. I can't say where it is, and but we are posting normally 1 week earlier. We are posting the event in our TechSister web Facebook page, and the event normally we are making around 23, 24, 25 of every month, and yeah.
And thank you very much from our part as well. I hope you enjoyed. Go and have some fun, make some new friends. And I don't know if I said before, perhaps you want to use Wi-Fi as well. Sorry, I didn't share the password. Password is in small letters. Fortumo is hiring.
Thank you.